ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදීත් IDD කෝල්ස් ගන්න SLT ෆෝන් එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Making headlines on First at 9. Restructuring the party. UMP decides not to change its leadership following discussions held since morning. No confidence development. Ministers who voted against the Premier says they are ready to resign. Meanwhile, UMP backbenchers to withdraw their no confidence motion. Celebrating World Health Day. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe expresses concern over trained doctors who go abroad and do not return.
People should go out, get experience, but they should also come back.
The time has come. TNA MP Sumandiran explains why they voted in favour of the Prime Minister and asks the government to fulfil its pledges.
Having done this, it is our expectation that the government will now expedite on the delivery that they had promised.
Celebration turns to chaos. The Sri Lankan audience attacks a musical show held in Sharjah, organised in view of the new year. Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the Ministry of Finance has always ensured that the Ministry of Health and the education sector has received enough money. He said this addressing an event where the World Health Organization marked the 70th anniversary of the World Health Day in Colombo today.
Sri Lanka was selected to host the 70th World Health Day by the World Health Organization, and it was held in Colombo under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe in Colombo, with the participation of Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine Dr. Rajendra Senaratne under the theme Universal Health Coverage, Everyone, Everywhere. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, and Director of South Asian Affairs of WHO, Dr. Poonam Khetrapal Singh, participated in the event along with health ministers of 12 countries and representatives from 11 countries.
A family doctor for all, where a trained family physician will be responsible for a population of around 5,000 is our aim. We will have an essential service package that will be delivered in close cooperation with the community. Dr. Tedros, we are extremely happy that we continue to have a strong, seamless partnership with the WHO that has delivered on many successful venture.
There's so much that is coming up every year, which means the cost of health goes up. Similarly, the construction of hospitals to accommodate this technology becomes more complex from the half-wall structures which we had earlier in the rural areas. Now, delivering this health service is major issue, and that the government has focused on facing this challenge. But at one time, our spending on health came down. It was a cause of alarm. One of the reasons being that we had taken so much of debt that debt repayment went up. By 2013, our revenue was insufficient for debt repayment, and therefore invariably our health expenditure had to come down. So it was a difficult period that we had to face after President Sirisena took over. On one hand, we had to stabilize the economy, which meant that bulk of our budget, nearly 60 to 70%, went on debt repayment. The worst years have been last year, this year and next year, when the bunched up payments have to be made. Nevertheless, the Ministry of Finance has ensured that more and more money is available to the health sector and to the education sector. Sri Lanka trains a large number of doctors, but a fair number leaves the country. Now, this is one of the major issues we have. How do you induce them to stay in the country? People should go out, get experience, but they should also come back. Now, this is one of the issues I had.
Deputy General Secretary of the United National Party, Minister Akila Viraj Karewasam, says that the majority of the UMP's working committee as well as the parliamentary group decided not to change the party leadership at this juncture. The discussion within the Prime Minister commenced this morning at Temple Trees.
The United National Party has scheduled discussions to be held on the restructuring of the party today and tomorrow. The UNP's working committee and parliamentary group members met their national leader this morning at Temple Trees. Talking to First at 9, UNP's Deputy General Secretary Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam said that the majority of the working committee members as well as the parliamentary group decided that the UNP leadership should not change for the moment. In addition, they also decided to appoint an advisory committee to recommend nominations for high-ranking positions of the party. The committee, which was appointed through a secret ballot, comprises of Ministers Ranjit Maduma Bandara, Akila Viraj Karyavasam, Mangala Samaravira, Navin Disanayaka, Harin Fernando, Ajit P. Pereira, Eran Vikramaratne, Ruwan Vijayawardena, Deputy Minister J.C. Alavatuwala and MPs Nalin Bandara and Ashoka Priyantha. Meanwhile, UNP parliamentarian Chaminda Vijayasiri expressed his views over the restructuring of the United National Party.
As we planned and hoped, we expect that the leader of the party will do as he promised. If it was just to win the no-confidence motion, we will not allow it. We have to give importance to the members as well.
Following the discussion, Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka expressed his views to the media.
We decided to appoint an assistant leader, a chairman and a general secretary by the 30th of April. When taking decisions in the future, the advisory committee will intervene in the process. Accordingly, the advisory committee will get together with the leadership of the party and will decide the changes and political programs of the party.
The 16 SLFP ministers who voted in favour of the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister have forwarded a letter to the President, Maithripala Sirisena, requesting to allow them to resign from their ministerial portfolios. Meanwhile, convening a media briefing today, the backbenchers of the UNP stated that they will withdraw the no-confidence motion handed to the Speaker yesterday against the 6 SLFPers and the Deputy Speaker who voted in favour of the no-confidence motion. Now, following the handing over of the no-confidence motion, Prime Minister instructed the UNP backbenchers last night to withdraw the no-confidence motion.
A group of UNP parliamentarians handed over a no-confidence motion to the Speaker of the Parliament yesterday against 6 cabinet ministers from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the Deputy Speaker who voted in favour of the motion against the Prime Minister. Last night, however, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe instructed to withdraw the no-confidence motion while stating that it was not a decision taken by the party but was of several parliamentarians. Meanwhile, convening a media briefing, several backbenchers of the UNP stated that although they decided to withdraw the no-confidence motion, it will be presented again under the advice of the President and the Prime Minister.
As the backbenchers, we have nothing to lose. We do not have ministerial portfolios. The public raises questions from the President as to which direction he intends to take the country by allowing those ministers to remain in the government. The government of good governance was not able to fulfill their promises due to MPs and ministers who conspired against the government together with the SLPP. We will not back off. We will bring those no-confidence motions back while notifying the President and the Prime Minister.
In the meantime, the 16 SLFP ministers who voted in favour of the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister have forwarded a letter to the Head of State requesting to allow their resignation. Speaking to Derana, Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara stated that they can no longer work in a cabinet that functions under a Prime Minister whom they have lost confidence in and therefore decided to resign from the ministerial post. Meanwhile, many politicians expressed views regarding the no-confidence motions.
Now there is a trend of no-confidence motions. The no-confidence motion is being brought by the President's Cabinet of Ministers. The no-confidence motion against Prime Minister has now led to several circumstances. One is that the government will face many difficulties in governing the country. A no-confidence motion cannot be brought against a group which acted upon a political decision. Anyone can bring a no-confidence motion if it consists of signatures of 20 parliamentarians. They can even bring one against me. Every MP has a right to do so.
Tamil National Alliance pressures the national government to immediately deliver its promises on constitutional reforms. Its spokesperson, M.A. Sumandiran, pointed out that the party assisted in defeating the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister because they expect the government to fulfill their promises.
This has caused huge upheaval in the political landscape of the country. The Tamil National Alliance was mostly concerned about this particular government delivering on the mandate that both of them received in 2015. One doesn't form national governments every day. A national government was formed for a national purpose, and that was seen when the Parliament unanimously adopted a resolution to constitute a constitutional assembly to draft a new constitution for this country. That effort started and a lot of work has been done in that regard. An interim report and subcommittee reports, a further ad hoc committee report have all come out. It is at this juncture that this no confidence motion was moved with the threat that such national government could come to an end. With more than 2 years time remaining for the national government, our position was that the national government must continue, at least continue for its full term and deliver on its promises which they have hitherto delayed in delivering. So we also ensured that Prime Minister Wickremesinghe had more than half the full number of Parliament supporting him. Having done this, it is our expectation that the government will now expedite on the delivery that they had promised. We raised several concerns with regard to what our people were facing. So this was done openly. These are legitimate concerns that we raised. These were not conditions on which we took our decision. So now that the government has survived this confidence vote, it is our hope that the National Unity Government will continue and continue in a way that it will deliver on all of the promises in the remaining 2 years' time.
Southern Development Minister Sagar Ratnayaka says that the government will implement several special programs just to control the increasing cost of living. Minister Ratnayaka made these remarks yesterday addressing a function held in Mathura.
We say the cost of living has decreased and it didn't go up, but people in villages still go through hardships. We see it. So why is it so? Well, the harvest declined last season. The fertilizer issue may be one issue. Drought is another factor that has affected their crops. Though we have reduced the prices of fuel and food items, the prices of other items have increased. We also raised the salaries of public sector employees, including the police. However, the income is still not enough to cope with daily costs. Therefore, we are creating some programs to increase the income and at the same time to increase opportunities. As we are a new government, we have to take at least 2 to 3 years to implement them. We had to face a no-confidence motion and we defeated it. We also faced the local authorities election. Now it is high time to go forward and fulfill the promises we made to the people. We have to win the confidence of the people. As a party and a government, we will take decisive steps to help make the lives of the people easier.
The Executive Director of PAFRO, Rohan Hettiarachchi, says it has decided to organize a multi-party summit to decide on a proper electoral system for the country, aiming the upcoming provincial council elections. Speaking to First at 9, he said that the summit will be organized by the end of this month.
In the new electoral system, most of the local authorities, nobody get the majority to establish the local authority. There are around 50 local authorities, none of the political parties get the majority. And also we realized that during the appointment of the mayors and the chairmen of the local authorities, there was a lot of financial transactions took place to get the majority for the parties to establish the local authority. And also we realized there were overhang situations after the elections. Around 365 additional members get elected based on the new electoral system. So now we are preparing for the upcoming provincial elections. Now most of the political parties are concerned about the new provincial electoral system. If you use the same electoral system, the same situation will take place after the provincial elections. So as an election monitoring body, and now we are preparing to organize a multi-party summit to discuss about the proper electoral system for this country. And also we are thinking to appoint the committee to get the views from the parliamentarians and also get the views from the councillors and the academics to prepare this the proposal. We hope that we can organize this conference in the end of this April.
5 people lost their lives after drowning in the Hulu River in the area of Panvilla in Kandy today. The police reported that the people who died included 2 men and 3 women.
A group of people had gone on a trip from Colombo via Gotatua to Kandy. They had gone to bathe near the Daluoya Black Bridge, which is near the Hulu River in Ponvilla, at around 2:45 this afternoon. The 5 people, which included 3 women and 2 men, were swept away by a strong river current, and the people who came along with them and the people in the area made great efforts to save them. The police reported that after search operations were conducted, their bodies had been found. It was reported that the people who had died were workers of a garment factory in Hanvalla in the area of Colombo. Residents said that the area had experienced heavy rain over the past few days, which had increased the water level of the river considerably.
An angry Sri Lankan audience had attacked a musical show organized in view of New Year held in Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates. The audience retaliated in response to the decision taken to stop the concert when the tickets had already been issued.
The New Year celebration had been organized by Sunhid organization in Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates. Accordingly, they have issued tickets priced at 2,500 rupees each, and popular singers and groups from Sri Lanka were invited to perform. The audience retaliated when the police intervened and attempted to stop the musical show last night. The United Arab Emirates' police had informed the organizers several times to stop the concert since the country had announced 3 days of mourning due to the passing away of the brother of the King of Sharjah. Despite attempts made by the organizers to continue the musical show ignoring police orders, the police put a stop to it completely, which resulted in intense clashes and damage to property.
Let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
In January this year, tourist arrivals increased by 8.9%, recording the second highest number of arrivals in a given month. Accordingly, the number of tourist arrivals during the month was 238,924 in comparison to highest monthly arrival of 244,536 in December last year. According to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, earnings from tourism increased year-on-year to $443 million in the month of January. Meanwhile, workers' remittances grew by 8.8% year-on-year to $729 million in January compared to $670 million in the same month last year. In terms of foreign direct investment, including foreign loans to BOI companies last year, Sri Lanka received $1,913 million, registering the highest ever FDI inflows in history. The level of gross official reserves of the country declined to $7.7 billion, equivalent to 4.3 months of imports at the end of January 2018, compared to $8 billion at the end of last year. Total foreign assets, which include foreign assets of the banking sector, also declined to $10 billion at the end of January from $10.4 billion at the end of 2017. The Sri Lankan rupee depreciated by 2% against the US dollar up to April 5th this year. Furthermore, reflecting cross-currency movements, the rupee also depreciated against other major currencies during this period. US stocks dropped more than 2% yesterday, with the Dow falling more than 500 points as the US President Donald Trump's latest tariff threat on Chinese imports fueled increasing concern over a US trade war with China. US stocks extended losses and the S&P 500 hit a session low in afternoon trading yesterday after Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said the US Central Bank will likely need to keep raising interest rates to keep inflation under control.
Stocks already were sharply lower following US President Donald Trump's latest tariff threat late last Thursday on Chinese imports, which revived fears of a trade war between the two countries. Trump threatened to slap $100 billion more in tariffs on Chinese imports, while Beijing said it was fully prepared to respond with a fierce counterstrike. Yesterday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 572.73 points or 2.34% to 23,932.49. The S&P 500 lost 58.4 points or 2.19% to 2,604.44. and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 161.44 points or 2.28% to 6,915.11.
Ten Palestinians were killed and 1,070 others injured yesterday during a day-long of bloody confrontations between hundreds of Palestinian demonstrators and Israeli soldiers at the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. Hundreds of Palestinian demonstrators began to set fire to dozens of used car tires near the border between the eastern Gaza Strip and Israel, in a bid to make a shield of black smoke to protect themselves from Israeli soldiers' gunfire.
10 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces during fresh protests on Gaza's border with Israel, along with 1,070 others injured. One Palestinian had died yesterday of wounds he sustained last Friday, and 9 more were killed during the fresh large clashes that broke out yesterday by Israeli snipers. The Israeli army forces used live ammunition, rubber-coated metal gunshots, tear gas and firefighters against the hundreds of demonstrators who threw stones at the soldiers. The Israeli military said troops had opened fire when people attempted to breach the fence on the frontier. The protesters are demanding that refugees be allowed to return to ancestral lands that are now in Israel. But Israel says the militant group Hamas, which dominates Gaza, is staging the rallies in order to launch attacks.
Police in Canada have confirmed that 14 people were killed when a lorry and a bus carrying a junior ice hockey team collided on Friday evening. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police said 28 people were on the bus, 14 of whom were killed, including the driver.
At least 14 people were killed yesterday after a tractor-trailer collided with a bus filled with members of a junior league hockey team on their way to a playoff game. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police said that 14 other people had been injured, 3 of them critically. A total of 28 people, including the driver, were on the bus at the time of the collision. In a tweet, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada said he could not imagine what the parents of the players were going through. Authorities have not identified the victims and would not confirm whether they were players or coaches.
Let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. The third day of the 21st Commonwealth Games was held today at Gold Coast in Australia. Today, Sri Lankan swimmer Matthew Abesinghe broke a new national record in the 100-metre freestyle event.
Sri Lanka team captain Chintana Geethalvidanage, who is participating in the Commonwealth Games, took part in the heavyweight lifting of the 77-kilogram category event today. Chintana lifted 132 kilograms in the snatch and 166 kilograms in the clean and jerk. Although he lifted an overall weight of 298 kilograms, it wasn't enough to win a medal. Chintana secured the 5th place at the event. Meanwhile, the 100-metre freestyle swimming event took place today. Matthew Abesinghe, who participated in the very first event, broke a new Sri Lankan record by finishing it in 41.1 seconds. However, since he could only secure 4th place at the semi-final, he was unable to qualify for the final.
Cricket has always been a game watched and hailed worldwide, and it has been more than just a game for many around the world. In a game that is synonymous for fair play and glorious uncertainties, recent incidents of ball tampering and the scenes that unfolded between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh in the semi-finals of the Nidahas Trophy tournament left us questioning whether cricket is far from a gentleman's game.
Past months saw some ugly scenes on the cricketing field, raising questions over the sportsmanship of the game. During the third test against South Africa in Newlands, Australian cricketer Cameron Bancroft was seen using a sandpaper to alter the condition of the ball.
I take full responsibility. I'll do everything I can to make up for my mistake and the damage it's caused.
I lied about the sandpaper and I panicked in that situation, and I'm very sorry.
After being caught ball tampering, Captain Steve Smith, David Warner and Cameron Bancroft all received lengthy bans from Cricket Australia as the national body frantically tried to limit the damage, while the culture of the Australian cricket team came under intense scrutiny. Many commented on the incident as one of the darkest in cricketing history and in Australia, which describes the gravity of the decision taken by the leadership of the Australian team.
If it was the leadership group that hatched this plot, well, you've got to assume that the next potential leader is amongst that leadership group.
I was stunned. That was my first reaction. I pick up the phone like a lot of people do in the morning. I just couldn't believe what I saw. That then followed with the emotion of embarrassment, but that was overridden by sadness. Watching the snippets there and being here today, walking around, the comments from everyone, what it's reminded me is just what cricket means to Australians and where it fits in our society, and it's part of the fabric of the nation, and it means so much.
Look, I hope people can forgive. I think Steve Smith's such a great young man. I just think he's made a big mistake, unfortunately.
This is a moment where people say, perhaps enough's enough. We need to set the right example for the kids. I think that's the most important thing, that these people are role model. We've got to get the kids who are going to be playing the game in 20 years' time, seeing the right examples.
The ball tampering saga even saw the intervention of Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull.
I mean, this has been a shocking affront to Australia.
Cricket Australia also drew up a charter last Friday governing the behaviour of players in the wake of the ball tampering scandal that has rocked the nation.
Cricket Australia will initiate a separate player and former player-driven process to consider a charter that sets out standards of behaviour and expectations of Australian teams.
We at First at 9 spoke to a veteran cricketer and an international referee in search of an in-depth look at the ball tampering incident.
Ball tampering is something that has happened from years gone by, from my time, and it will maybe continue in the years to come as well. But I think in this instance, what has really caught the eye of everybody around is the collusion. That is, it's not just one person doing it. It's maybe 2, 3 or who knows more. Because Australia, in my opinion, has been on the edge. They've been taking the game and the conduct to its limits. And they've been getting away as well. I applaud Cricket Australia for taking a bold stance, because it has come to a stage where enough is enough. The game has to be played in a certain way and nobody should be allowed to get away with it. Maybe it's a good wake-up call for Australia. Australia is just too good a sporting nation to need cheating or abusive language or harsh conduct. They just don't need it.
The veteran cricketer also voiced his views about the semi-final between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, which saw ugly scenes on the field as Bangladesh captain Shakib Al Hasan gestured to his 2 batsmen to come out of the field in protest against decision of not calling a no-ball on a seemingly shoulder-height delivery.
I was absolutely shocked. People are getting a lot more physical. That needs to stop. There is threatening bodily movements, there is pushing and shoving, and the verbal abuse. They must stop. And I think the referees must play a much bigger role in stopping that.
First at 9 also questioned him about his opinions on a penalty review in cricket.
I thought banning a guy for 2 matches due to a over a delay. After all, you're playing a knockout tournament where you need to win and be more sensible. And then on the other hand, we had very poor behavior by the Bangladesh players. And what was meted out to them was very, very minute, I thought. I would have expected a lot harsher punishment. It's important that there is consistency in penalization or punishment they give these players. Certainly, these things need to be corrected if we are to call this a gentleman's game.
First at 9 questioned him on how these incidents affect aspiring cricketers.
Cricketers are role models to their kids. Watch them on television and then try to do the same thing. So it is extremely important that the players conduct themselves in a certain way. They are above criticism.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Your temperatures for tomorrow will range between
21 and 31 degrees Celsius, with the lowest yet again expected in the Central Hills. We're looking at the map. A low pressure zone will form from the east of the island and will gradually disappear. Well, no signs of a sunny weather reported in the island, as many areas of the country, including Jaffna, Mannar, Vaunia and Anuradhapura, will experience showers and thundershowers. Coming further down, Kandy, Colombo, Galle and Mathura as well as Hambantota will also experience showers and thundershowers. That's all we have from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that's it from all of us for Mother Derana First at 9. But before we go, we'd like to take you to St. Petersburg's Fabergé Museum in Russia, which had a special significance for Easter, as the intricate decorative Easter eggs made for the royal family go on display. The unique Easter eggs are made by jeweller Fabergé and are exhibited for the occasion. Hope you enjoy. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.